We'll get moving. All right, good morning, everyone. We'll get started. For those of you that were able to join at 4:30 a.m., not a lot has changed. We're going to show a couple of different things that we have some concerns about, and maybe go over those a little bit. But for the most part, not a lot has changed in terms of our expectations. Um, in summary, though, we are expecting very dangerous wind chills late tonight through Wednesday. You will definitely notice the wind tomorrow morning into Wednesday, with especially across the north and northwest part of the state, but the entire state. There's a pretty strong Arctic cold front moving in. Light snow is expected across much of the area beginning around midday across far northwest, and that will expand south and east through the afternoon into the evening. Um, there are a couple caveats, and I'll cover those with the snow, but up to an inch expected across the area. The areas where they could see a little bit higher are across the far northwest counties that border Tennessee, and then some that border on the Alabama side, and then maybe some locally higher amounts in the mountains. We will have to monitor potentially higher amounts tonight along the I-85 corridor south of Atlanta. There are some models trying to hint at a moisture surge coming at us during the overnight hours along in south. So that would be along the southern periphery of the winter weather advisory, and that I'm going to cover that in just a minute. That's probably one of the changes and things that we're watching a little more closely. Overall, the impacts are going to be the wind chills for one, sub-zero values possibly along and north of the I-85 corridor. Icy roads, if we do end up getting precip, we're seeing this back to the west in Mississippi and Alabama. The precip that's falling is sticking and adhering to the roadways pretty quickly. And that's largely due to the fact that the front is outrunning the precip. So the cold air is getting here first, and then the precip is falling. So that has a lot to do with it, and the temperatures that the precip is falling into. And then, of course, the prolonged period of cold we're looking at all the way into Thursday, sub-freezing temps. And that, given the winds and everything else, could have an impact on things as well. So current conditions, this is the radar snapshot from about 9:30. And the thing I want you to note here is, I have to change my pen color. Back across Alabama, and this picture that you see on your screen is from Florence, northwest Alabama. And this is generally kind of what we're looking at, dusting up to an inch or so, or up to an inch in some areas, just basically a coating. But note that it is sticking to like harder surfaces, and you can see it back on the pathways. We're noticing as well, but if you look at the area that's happening, it's about 25 degrees. And then you go back into Tennessee, it's already in the teens, 15 in Nashville, and then upper teens as you head south and east. So temps are extremely cold behind this. The other thing, if you look at the winds out in front of the precip are out of the north. That's where I was saying the front is actually outrunning the precip. So the precip's falling in behind the front, and that's why we expect the snow to accumulate on things pretty shortly after it actually starts falling. And so we'll see this area shift south and east through the next few hours and begin to impact the far northwest here in the next few hours. Erase the drawings. Move on. Our expected snow accumulations, not a lot of change from this. Again, up to an inch with higher amounts across the far northwest. You can see us starting to introduce these little bit higher totals encroaching upon the west side here, south and west of Atlanta. And this may end up creeping over to the I-75 corridor. We'll have to watch this through the day, into the night, as a band of precip. I'm going to show this in a little bit. This area here, particular that I'm drawing in, we'll have to watch for the potential to increase it. And this may shift south and east, but somewhere in this vicinity, as an upper level system moves in and increases the overall moisture. We'll have to watch this, but for now, you can see the amounts are anywhere an inch or less for the most part. So just enough that you see it happening and maybe coating just a few things, but all in all, we're not expecting a major event out of this. The winter weather advisory we have for the far northwest, it's broken into two different pieces. The far northwest winter weather advisory starts at noon today through 7 a.m. Wednesday. Keep in mind that the impacts don't necessarily end at 7 a.m. Wednesday. You may see still icy roadways across the far northwest well beyond 7 a.m. Wednesday. It may actually linger all the way into Thursday. And all depends on the amounts that you actually get. Overall, again, generally speaking, up to an inch. The area south and east of that, not highlighted in the purple, that starts at 5 p.m. today through 7 a.m. Wednesday as well. And you can see it going all the way down to our far southwest. I'll draw on the screen to allow people to see where I'm talking about. So it includes areas south and just east of Columbus, almost to Americus. Americus, Macon, up towards Eatonton. You folks down on the far southeast, pay attention. We'll have to watch and see if the band will continue to expand down into your region, and the possible expansion of this advisory further south and east if we see things starting to shape up that way. One thing I want to note, you'll notice here on the little inset map, Tallahassee has included areas to our south in a winter weather advisory that do border us on the south. Their criteria is a little bit different than ours, but for those of you that border folks to your south, you do have one to your south. Again, keep in mind that their criteria does differ a little bit than ours, but you can see it lining up all the way up into the South Carolina counties and Greenville-Spartanburg area to our east. Again, we'll have to watch the area just east of the location that we're in right now, that are in the winter weather advisory right now. So timing, again, not a lot of change from the 4 a.m. We were hoping to see if things would evolve a little bit differently. They haven't. And so we'll just step you through this. We're expecting it to be knocking on the doorstep here between noon and 1 o'clock in the far northwest. So into the Chattanooga area and then those counties that border Chattanooga. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the hourly temperatures fall with the precip that moves in. So 1 p.m., skip forward to 7 o'clock. You can see temperatures have fallen across a good portion of the northwest to into the upper 20s and even lower 20s across the far northwest. And you can see the snow now encroaching on the I-85, I-20 corridor, particularly northwest Georgia, getting into the Atlanta metro. Looks like around 6, 7 o'clock maybe coming into the northwest part of the state with that band. The timing seems to be pretty good and consistent among all the models, getting into the northwest by about 6, 7 o'clock. And then we go forward to 1 a.m. You can see the snow band or the area of snow expanding further south and east, along with the temperatures dropping as well. And you can see teens in the far northwest. So whatever snow does fall obviously isn't going to go anywhere with temperatures falling that quickly behind any of the precip. Excuse me. By 7 a.m., you can see that band that's shifted down into our far south and east counties. Again, this is the area that we're going to have to watch for a possible expansion, especially if we see enhanced area precip developing across that region, which again I'll cover in just a minute. But overall, look at your temperatures. Most everybody is in the teens and lower 20s. So again, whatever precip does fall could have an impact, especially on the secondary roadways. Lows tonight into tomorrow morning. Looking at teens with single digits across the far northwest, 20s across the central part of the state, and maybe the only area that stays near freezing would be the extreme far southeast counties. But everywhere in the Atlanta metro region, mid to lower teens across the far north part of the metro. So again, the gusty northwest winds will bring in the wind chills, and you'll notice it by tomorrow morning for sure. Excuse me. Here are those wind chills. I'm going to have to let Dave take over here. I'm coughing. So Dave's going to take over for you just a minute.
All right, everybody. So you're looking at the wind chills now for late tonight through the morning hours. And we haven't, this might be one of the coldest mornings we've seen all winter, all season. combination of the air temperatures with the wind, we could see sub-zero wind chill values early tomorrow morning from about Atlanta and points north and west, all the way to Alabama and Tennessee state line. So dangerously cold wind chills. We do have a wind chill advisory in effect, and for some areas across the extreme north, we're going to be looking at potentially even upgrading this to a wind chill warning. Some of the higher elevations could be below -10, which is our criteria. Anything below -10 would be for wind chill warning. And it's very rare that we actually issue wind chill warnings for any part of our area. So something to consider. Obviously, in addition to the light snow moving through with the front, is going to be the dangerously cold temperatures and wind chills into tomorrow morning. As Keith was talking about, one of the issues, whatever snow we get later today through tonight, temperatures highs tomorrow are going to struggle to reach freezing 32 degrees for many areas. And we may start to see some sun peek out through the day tomorrow, so that might help even if we stay below freezing. But one of the things, any residual water that is or melting that does occur will refreeze pretty quickly Wednesday evening. So we're going to have to definitely keep an eye on that. But definitely through the day tomorrow, many areas are going to be below freezing, and the winds are going to stay up. So the wind chill values are going to be really low, even though the snow is going to be kind of ending across our far southeast counties early in the morning tomorrow. We're still going to be dealing with these cold temperatures. Okay, one of the things we threw together here, this is an animated loop. We had mentioned a couple of scenarios, one of them which involves some enhancement of snow developing across the kind of the I-85 corridor south of Atlanta, from like a Columbus to Forsyth line, and then on up towards the south side of Athens. We're going to watch this. What Keith was talking about earlier is there's a very large upper level trough of energy and some real strong winds in the mid levels. And as that kind of digs down and interacts with the front that's moving through and the moisture associated with the front, we could see some enhancement from like LaGrange to Columbus and then points north and east. This would be for late tonight and in the overnight hours. So we wanted to throw that out there, that we've been focusing initially on like the northwest counties and then even parts of the northwest side of Metro Atlanta. We didn't want to ignore the fact that to the south, there could be a redevelopment or enhancement that occurs late tonight, sometime after 9, 10 o'clock through the early morning hours.
And the area that I've highlighted in red, this is the area where some of the models are indicating very little precip. And it was mentioned yesterday in some of our discussions, and you can see particularly in model B, if you look, there's very little precip that moves through that red circle until the very end when it starts to pick up south and east of that. That's what we call possible downsloping the models are trying to pick up. We're not 100% certain on that, but we're somewhat confident that that might occur. And so those of you north and east of the metro, you may end up not getting much, if anything, out of this because the precip starts to disintegrate, or the band disintegrates as it moves across. And then we'll see it start to redevelop further south and east. And the two simulations are trying to show that here with each one of them.
Okay, so we'll highlight that a little bit later. What happened?
You're on it.
Okay, cool.
And this is just another look, another model that only goes out through midnight tonight. And the one thing I wanted to point out was the area highlighted in black would be that sort of that zone where we might see that enhancement start to occur. And you can see some of it at the very end of this. You'll see in Alabama, you'll see some streaks starting to come through, and the streaks starting to work their way north and east as they sort of come from southern Alabama and then on into western Georgia. It's trying to indicate to us that that may be occurring. And so because of that, we'll have to watch the area to the south for possible additional accumulations.
Okay, quick graphic here. We talked about the prolonged period of cold air. So once the front moves through later today into tonight, we're looking at an extended period of temperatures actually below freezing for much of the area. And the number that you see on the map is the number of hours that we're anticipating. Once you get below freezing, you're going to stay below freezing for upwards of 40 to 50 hours. So for a couple of days on into early or mid to late morning on Thursday for a lot of the area is when that'll be the next chance to be above freezing. So big thing just to keep in mind, in addition to the extreme cold, is the prolonged duration of seeing sub-freezing temperatures across the area.
And not just sub-freezing temps, with the wind chills and the any wind, especially with the wind, that's going to take away any heat off of things especially exposed. And so that'll allow them to freeze a little bit quicker than normal if we didn't have the wind. So the potential for pipes freezing or busting does increase in these types of scenarios. So in addition to any precip on the roads remaining for travel hazards, especially in those not exposed to any sun during the day on Wednesday.
Okay, I'll just we'll wrap it up here, guys. Okay, the main points are going to be the certainty of the dangerously cold wind chills and associated with the very cold temperatures coming in behind the front later today through tonight. We are going to be watching a band of snow, light snow, moving across the area beginning around midday across the far northwest areas, then expanding south and east through the afternoon and evening hours. Keith mentioned that there could be sort of a shadow area in the northeast mountains where we don't get as much, and then could see some redevelopment overnight tonight south of Atlanta across like the Columbus, LaGrange area towards Macon. So those areas to our south of Atlanta, we'll definitely have to watch, and we'll keep everybody updated through the afternoon and evening hours as things kind of evolve. Main impacts with the cold, obviously, hypothermia, bitterly cold wind chills, sub-zero values expected across a good portion of the area north and west of Atlanta late tonight through the morning hours tomorrow. We're going to definitely have to watch even patchy areas of ice due to the snow or melting and then refreezing through tonight into tomorrow. And then, of course, the prolonged duration of cold air with sub-freezing temperatures expected for across much of the area through the day tomorrow, into tomorrow night, and through Thursday morning before we start to rebound a little bit. So I know that there were some audio issues. We are recording this. So what we'll do as soon as we get off this call, we're gonna take the recording, tag it to an email, and add some quick bullet points for everybody. All right, I'm going to wrap up there.